In the suburbs of New York, among the old buildings and narrow alleys, a rumor was swirling among the people. Mysterious photography which was said to cause anyone who took a picture of it to die horribly within days. This rumor was more like a street legend, but deep in people's minds, it had created a latent panic. Jacob, a young photographer who had just returned to the city for a documentary project, was interested in hearing strange stories. One night, while patrolling the old neighborhood, he heard an old man saying, "That damn thing is still around. His camera has been untouched since World War. If he takes your picture, you won't survive." Jacob laughed and said, "Old legends. An old man with an old camera that causes people to die. I'm a professional photographer myself. These things are to scare children." The old man gave him a serious look and whispered. Many people said the same thing, until it was too late. A few days later, Jacob was in an antique store looking for old equipment for his documentary project when he saw an old camera. The camera had a strange and scary appearance. A black and metallic body with a lens that seemed to see into people's souls. When he saw Jacob take the camera, the salesman said worriedly, "This camera is cursed. They say that whoever uses it will cause death. Many people bring it here to get rid of it." Jacob, who was impressed by this story, laughingly bought the camera and said, "A curse? This is just a fictional story." On the first night of using the camera, Jacob decided to take some pictures of the old neighborhood. Surprisingly, the camera still worked and captured great images. But something was strange. In every photo he took, there was a dark shadow in the background, even when no one or anything was there. Jacob ignored this and printed the photos in his apartment. But when the first photo was printed, he was shocked. There was a black shadow with glowing eyes in the corner of the picture. 4 days later, one of Jacob's friends, Eric, who was a professional photographer, came to his apartment. Jacob proudly showed the photos and said, "Look, this camera is the most special thing I've ever found." Eric said fearfully when he saw the pictures, "This is no joke, Jacob. That shadow looks like a living thing. Where did you get that?" Jacob explained, but Eric insisted on destroying the camera. Jacob laughed and said, "You're imagining too much, Eric. It's just a shadow." A few hours later, Eric was crossing the street when a car suddenly hit him and he died on the spot. Jacob slowly realized that the camera was more than just a simple photography device. He tried to lock the camera in a box. Still, every night, he had terrible nightmares. The same dark shadow approaching him with glowing eyes and a voice like a deathly whisper. He decided to do more research. Jacob discovered that the camera belonged to a World War II photographer who took pictures of soldiers in their last moments. The photographer committed suicide, but his soul was said to be trapped in the camera. Jacob's horror grew when he learned that anyone whose picture was taken with this camera would die within days. He tried to get the camera away from him, but every time he took it away, it reappeared in his house. One night, Jacob decided to take a picture of himself with this camera, hoping to find out the truth. When the photo was printed, it was not his image. Rather, the same dark shadow, now standing in the center of the picture, clearly had bony hands and sharp teeth. On the final night, Jacob decided to face the shadow. He took the camera to a forest where no one could find him. But in the middle of the night, he heard a whisper. "You are mine, Jacob." Suddenly, the shadow came out of the camera and the whole area was covered in darkness. Jacob shouted in horror. "What do you want?" Shadow whispered. "You are the new photographer of death. Bring me the souls." The next day, the camera was found again in the antique shop, with the inscription, "For the next photographer." There was no sign of Jacob, but the legend of the death photographer lives on, and anyone who buys the camera will experience its terrible curse.